Hey everybody! Another set of mini reviews today. I thought I would try to pick a different background with our monkey lamp, and I figured this is a little more appealing. Hopefully you can hear me okay, since I'm kind of in a big open room. It might be kind of echoey. Oh well. So 2 movies to review today. The first one is Mayhem. The second one is Jojo Rabbit. First, before I do anything, I was going to talk a little bit about rating. So do a 5-point rating system, or 5 stars, 1 to 5. There's always a big controversy. A lot of people don't ever want to give top rating, whether it's 10 stars or 5 stars. And the way I look at it is kind of like grades for a class. You know, you have those teachers that would never give A's or hardly ever give A's. And my attitude always has been, if you get all the answers right, you get an A. If everyone got all the answers right, everyone gets A's. So I don't think it should be that unattainable to get 5 stars. The way I look at it is they got everything right. Now there's subjectivity in there. What I consider everything right might be not what you consider everything right, but it should be achievable. And then to me, if it goes above and beyond, it becomes like something that I just love forever, or really goes above, then I call it like a classic. So it might go from a 5-star down to a 4-star over time. It might go up to a classic. So you just have to kind of wait and see on those. So for me, 1 star is basically not worth the time. I shouldn't have spent the time watching it. It was terrible in every way, pretty much. 2 stars would be pretty bad. Probably wouldn't suggest it to people. Probably wouldn't go watch it again. If I knew how bad it was, I probably wouldn't have watched it. But there was something that elevated it. There was some good acting. There was a really good scene in it. The cinematography is great. Something brought it above the lowest level. 2.5, 3 stars right in the middle. Good movie, solid, enjoyable, but nothing special, or maybe it had really, really good elements and something brought it down a peg. So it's kind of right in the middle. Kind of a suggest to people if you know they like that kind of movie, sort of a movie. 4 stars, of course, good. A good movie. So something that really is hitting on quite a few levels, and above average. Something you would definitely suggest to most people, knowing what their taste is. And then finally, 5 stars is it somehow hit on all the levels. It got everything right to me, and I give it 5 stars. So 4.5, 5 stars is obviously kind of top of the list. So the first one that we're going to review today is Mayhem from 2017, showing on Shudder. Also, I'm going to try to mix these up for different platforms. So depending on where you're at, they're not all from Shudder, they're not all from Hulu, they're not all from Netflix. So different days you might have one that you can get and watch. Shudder is a great platform though. It stars Stephen Ewan. I don't know how to say his name exactly. He's famously Glenn from The Walking Dead. He's kind of the star of this movie. And Samara Weaving, I think it's Samara or Samara, who really broke out recently in Ready or Not. And if you liked her in Ready or Not, which I have not seen yet, it's on my list. So it probably will get reviewed soon here. But I am aware that she gets very bloody and has a lot of good violence in that movie. Maybe go back and watch Mayhem, where she kind of first demonstrates those qualities. So Mayhem is one of those movies where, okay, for a while we used to get pairs of movies. We'd have the same movie, we'd have Volcano and Dante's Peak. Another year we would have Deep Impact and Armageddon. So you have these movies that are the same, almost the same, within a year of each other. Well, this is similar. There was a movie called The Belko Experiment, which was about a strange experiment going in this locked down business office skyscraper, and how the mini society kind of broke down and became really violent and crazy. This is another version of that called Mayhem. This one's a little more cartoonish and a little more supposed to kind of get you all riled up, a little more humorous, I guess it's supposed to be. But the basic concept is a virus. Hey, good timing, virus. This virus that basically breaks down everything except your id, and your id is able to rule, so that all of people's desires, whether violent or angry or whatever they might be, emotional desires kind of are accentuated and they go crazy. And in this is basically one of those, it's almost like a video game movie where you've got the, kind of like the Raid, where you've got the evil corporate guys in the top level, and you got the lower level people below, and they've got to get up there to get what they need. A lot of cartoonish characters, a lot of bad, corporate types getting their comeuppance, and a lot of crazy, silly violence. But it is pretty bloody, so if you're not into that sort of thing, definitely don't look into this movie. If you're into that kind of Evil Dead level of violence, that sort of style, this would probably be relatively fun for you. It especially works because of the chemistry between the two main characters, who were not friends to start with, but have to team up for their efforts to get to the, quote, bad guys. And the character played by Samara Weaving is definitely the standout. And there's a great moment in the movie where they're going through all this stuff, and he asks her, like, they're kind of trying to bond, sort of, and he's like doing one of those stereotypical things like, name 3 bands. And she's like, what? Only 3? And he's like, name 3 bands you like. And she names out Motorhead and DRI and early Anthrax. And I'm like, okay, whoever wrote this has definitely got some pretty cool knowledge to throw that in there. And that kind of, and then he goes about how he likes Dave Matthews Band, and it becomes a big joke in the movie. So if that sounds appealing to you, it's a pretty solid movie. Once again, I would give it 3.5 stars. Better than average. Definitely gives you what you're looking for in a movie like that. And it's kind of a fun, crazy diversion that's different than your average action movie. It's different than your John Wick movie, maybe equally violent. But this is a little more creative. It's a good watch. Now, the next one is Taika Waititi's Jojo Rabbit. Now, this, to me, I would give 4.5 to 5 stars. It's right on the edge of 5 stars for me. Maybe just a slight level down. Hard to recommend to everybody because it is kind of have a little bit of that level of comedy, quirky comedy that it leans a little towards Wes Anderson, which I don't hate Wes Anderson, but I can definitely see how it can be tiresome to people, his extreme mannered style. This is taken back a level from that. And I think Taika's style is showing over time that he's really got the goods, and he can make a lot more different styles of movie than you get from Wes Anderson. So if you haven't looked back at some of Taika's stuff, he's done, he did, of course, Thor Ragnarok, kind of his big studio release, but then even better, he did Hunt for the Wilder People. Excellent movie. If you haven't looked into that movie, go back and check it out. It is well worth your time. I believe it's showing on Hulu right now. I watched it about 2 weeks ago. Great, excellent movie. He also did, I think, We Live in the Shadows. Was it We Live in the Shadows? I forget. We Live in the Shadows, I think it's called. It's the mockumentary with the guys from Flight of the Conchords and the vampires that are kind of living secretly, but having a documentary crew follow them. And they've made it into a really good series as well. But this movie, famously, is about a young Nazi youth, Jojo, in the final days of World War II, with his mom, played by Scarlett Johansson. And he's got Hitler as an imaginary friend. And you might be like, wow, that sounds like a lot. But it is done amazingly well. And what is incredibly good about it, to me, is that it really treads that line between the goofy, silly humor, even to the level of puns, that is almost at that level that you get in the better Mel Brooks movies, kind of your Young Frankensteins and your Producers and Blazing Saddles, those kind of era movies. Not quite as vulgar, but definitely kind of rides the line there in some of the comedy, that especially in the first half of this movie. But it's always at the expense of the idiocy of the whole Nazi and anti-Jew mentality. So you can go with it and it isn't controversial. The hard thing that he does is he actually drops in dramatic elements, and he does that effectively and surprisingly effectively. And there are some amazing emotional and beautiful moments in this movie, which I will not spoil, which, by the way, I hadn't mentioned at the beginning. I'm not going to put spoilers in any of these little mini reviews If I am going to put a spoiler in there, I will let you know. Anyway, there are some emotional moments in this. I would say overall it's an uplifting film, but you will be hit in the gut a few times. Little things that he can do in this movie, which are impressive, is he will give you some visual motifs that you wouldn't expect to be so complex. But as the movie progresses, they pay off in really great ways. Things like butterflies and his mom's shoes pay off in a way that you wouldn't expect. Or a bicycle, or an unusually colorful uniform, which you weren't expecting to come back. There's a lot of really good touches that I think gives this rewatchability, gives it emotional impact, and will give it staying power. So I would highly recommend Jojo Rabbit, which I don't believe at this point is streaming free on any platforms. I did rent it for I think $5.99 off Amazon Prime. I'm sure you can get it on all different kinds of rental streaming platforms, YouTube and all the other things, Google Play, all that stuff. So my two watches for today were Mayhem and Jojo Rabbit. My recommendation of those two would be Jojo Rabbit pretty much for everybody. Mayhem for people who are more into action, horror, comedy, satire sorts of movies. You can have a good time with it and enjoy yourself. So let me know what you guys think. If there's something specific you want me to watch or some different way you'd like me to review them, let me know. And I'll be back hopefully tomorrow with one or two more movies. See ya.